Good morning. It is 6:44 a.m. on Saturday, April 16th, 2016. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. So I think ordinarily, it being Saturday, after getting up to take Luna outside, I would have gone back to bed. But this morning, I got a bloody nose. Um, it's the first one I've had in a long time, actually. I'm trying to think the last time I had a bloody nose. It's been years, to be sure. So just kind of out of nowhere. I'm not sure what that's all about, but that's annoying. In any case, just because of that, I was not eager to lay my head back down on my pillow, even though I am still kind of tired. Could have done with some more sleeping in. Anyway, I think I'll be okay. Um, Last night I finished finally the Citadel DLC for Mass Effect 3, which is not remotely new at this point. But I love Mass Effect 3 so much that there was that last piece of DLC that I kind of just had never gone back to do. I think there was an element of like, well, then that's the last thing, and I'm saving it for like a special occasion, and it was really good. I liked it a lot, and especially I think giving it some distance was actually nice about it. And just running through all those locations, saying hi to all those characters. The only thing I maybe wish that it would have had that it didn't have is something that allowed like a little bit of a memorial to characters that had may have died in your playthrough. Like for me in mine, Morden died um, in the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2, and then he could have died in other ways. Um, so, having some moment in the DLC where you can kind of talk about that would have been nice. But that's fine. So, other stuff on my mind though, one of the things that's got kind of, movie geeks buzzing at the moment is some controversy over Scarlett Johansson cast as the major Motoko Kusanagi in the Ghost in the Shell live action movie. Um, this is all kind of flaring up again because they've finally released an image of her in character. The only thing that I found a little bit weird about the controversy is just that it's not like we didn't know already that she had been cast. So I'm not sure why everybody's newly mad now, but I guess it's just kind of crystallized the moment. But still, like, I have really strong mixed feelings about the whole prospect of the movie, casting aside, just because I really love a lot of the Ghost in the Shell stuff. But most of what I love about it, I feel like, is not likely to be translated well into a big budget Hollywood movie. Because certainly, like, some of the action stuff is cool enough, but a lot of what I actually find the most interesting about Ghost in the Shell is the really heady philosophical technology and what does it mean to be human, and can an AI be sentient, and all of those phenomenological things. I don't know if I used that word correctly. Anyway, that's the stuff that I think is most interesting in Ghost in the Shell, and not just the action stuff, but just movies don't lend themselves very well to that. Like, it can be done, but when we're saying we're making a big AAA, big budget action extravaganza, it doesn't encourage me that that's what it's going to be about. So I'm already worried about it just for that reason. Then there's also the reason that it's been in production hell for like ever. I mean, it's not like Ghost in the Shell is super timely right now. Um, so it's also possible that it being in cinema hell or production hell, pre-development, hell. Um, it may well be that the only reason that it was able to eventually move forward at all is that they got Scarlett Johansson's involvement. She's a big star. She's a proven box office draw. She's led sci-fi action movies before. I think Scarlett Johansson is awesome. As an actress, I think she's great. I've liked her in many, many things. And although I certainly wouldn't have cast her in this character because it's problematic uh, in a couple of ways, but it's also true probably that the movie would never have moved forward at all without a big name in the lead role. However, I'm not making excuses for Hollywood here because this is just another big expression of the whole problem. Like the discussion of the Oscars so white controversy and all of that sort of thing is that it's always all too easy to make excuses for any individual example. But that's why sometimes you have to push back on some of these decisions, even when you can make some of those excuses, just because if nobody does, then it never changes. So the problem here is, okay, let's just tease it out. Why did we cast Scarlett Johansson in a role that is supposed to be a Japanese person living in Japan? Well, okay, so and let's ignore story excuses like, well, in the movie she lives in an artificial body, so it could look like anything. Well, sure it could, except that she is a Japanese person living in Japan. Why would she choose an artificial body that looks like an American? That's still a valid question. Now, that's not even to say, like, maybe the movie will even do something interesting with that, but all of that is still ultimately completely beside the point. It really has no bearing. It is hand-waving rationalization. Because that's not a reason to change the race, it's just an excuse. But so let's talk about it. Why did they cast her? Well, because she's a big name, she's a box office draw. They want the movie to do well, and it was also probably part of what allowed them to move it forward at all, is that, well, hey, we'll have Scarlett Johansson as the lead, and that will make people go see the movie. But, so we say, but the character's supposed to be Japanese. Can't we cast a Japanese person? It's like, well, there's not really any Japanese actresses that are as high profile as Scarlett Johansson. And it's like, okay, so first of all, we don't trust the audience to go to see a movie that has someone that they don't already know in it. Which there's maybe some truth to that, but it's also partly because that's how audiences have been trained all along. But it's also a case of like, well, I retweeted a tweet from yesterday that kind of summed it up. I'm kind of saying it randomly, but the joke was it's just that there just weren't any Asian actresses that were high profile enough. It's like, so why don't you cast some in smaller movies so that they can get more famous and high profile? And then, jumps out window. Because that's the problem, is that just like with the Oscars, what you do is you want a high profile name in your movie, so you cast a white person. And then that person is made more famous. And then the next time someone's making a movie, they want to put someone famous in it, so they go with that same person. As opposed to trying to break the cycle by saying, at some stage, whether it's the big budget movie or the little movie or whatever, if you cast someone else, they get an opportunity to become more high profile, and then solves the problem, except that someone has to take that first step. And that's why pushback on these sorts of things is so important, because there's literally no other way that it will ever change. Period. It's really just, it won't ever change until the audience can speak clearly to the studios to tell them listen, stop assuming that you know exactly what we want, and listen to what we're saying that we want. And of course, it's still complicated because they're going by box office. But at the same time, there's also been studies in the last couple of years that show that movies with diverse casts do better. Anyway, I'll leave it there for now, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.